reading the book's talking about how we are and how we've been treated like animals. And then you realize what animals are. They're not human, so they're less than us. So we've been treated less than. So when you start looking at broken homes, let's look at the men. What they used to do was separate the man from the woman, which you can read in the scriptures, use the man just to go and breed up their women. And then he would have no responsibility for the children. So because he has no responsibility for the children, that becomes his natural state now. Not instantly, but over time, that's what happens. That's what becomes if you start perpetuating that behavior. So when he's talking about being in Jamaica, I got it when I was young. I was with one girl. Oh yeah, one man, a rare man, I'm laughing because I just want to be with one woman. I'm like, wow, that's strange. Obviously, I've read scriptures and I understand that when you're moving right and you can, and that does come with economics, that you can have more than one wife, but you have to treat them all the same. That's fine and fair enough. I've got no issue with that at all. But you start realizing that man are just out here thinking it's just about beating down pump. And that's it. There's no spiritual guidance, there's no nothing, man are just out here.
No leadership.
And there's no leadership, and really creating more broken women. And I've been guilty of that.
But even that, bro, sorry, touching on that, right? When you offer certain guidance to a certain female, a certain individual, as a man, you are building, and you say to these women or any woman that come on board, say, listen, you can be a part of this legacy that I'm building, because that's what we naturally want to do, because we come into a society, into a system, and into the world not having, you know what I mean? So we want to build something to leave our kids, our grandkids, so they have a better start than we did. So if we are out here and we've seen that vision, we have that goal and that mindset to do that, why then you want to say, you know what, now I don't want to be a part of that, I want to do my own thing? That means that you don't want to side with me, you don't want to be my helpmate, you don't want to add to it, you want to just take away, you just want to do your own thing to say, you know what, I can do it over here better, I don't need you. Well, we have it twisted, and the woman said it on sidetracking off the topic, but I'll say this point, then we jump into the book. She said, the man is the Most High's plan, not the woman, because you have this narrative to say happy wife, happy life. I was in that. Oh, as long as my wife is happy, I will be happy. And I spent years and years and years in a marriage trying to make a woman happy, and everything I did was not good enough. And you're constantly doing more and more and more, and you put in like, I would never get there. I had to look at myself and say, this is a myth. It doesn't work. Scripture says that the man is the Most High's plan. The woman is sent to help and add value to the relationship, to the man's life. How can we then, you know what, make this a legacy, build and sustain onto the book?
So in the book it mentions African, but I'm going to use Yasharal, yeah, because African is a very broad term. Like that's you're talking about a whole continent. You're not speaking about any specific individuals. And a lot of people who are from the continent of Africa have their country, have their knowledge, have their history. It was never put in slavery, so it's not our thing. And they do have the N words. I'm going to use the word Negro when I do get to them things. But this is just so you know, write the book. If you actually do purchase the book, it is going to say African book. Obviously, they took us from the Isle of St. Thomas, which is quite kind. We know all of that, the slave coast. We know all about them things, but we also know that we are, as much as people want to label us as a skin color, that's not what we deal with. We deal with nation, and we know what nation we are. Anyway, it says historically a title had not up until recently been given to this system, nor had individual been credited with the development and packaging of such a productive system until the discovery of Willie Lynch's letter. Lynch and the company somehow were able to conceptualize the very essence of slave-making methods. The amazement of the matter is that after reading the letter 290 years later, the spiritual drugs of division documented in the archives of his speech have held true exactly as Mr. Lynch stated. He said the minimum test of time in which this method, if used, the minimum test of time in which this method, if used, would control the minds of the Negro slave for at least 300 years. So I'm saying we haven't been out of slavery more than 300. This is what I'm saying. We're still like You know what I mean? We're at the latter ends, but it says the second phase of the curse of Willie Lynch included the strong prediction that the utilization of his method would ensure the control of the Negro's state of mind for at least an entire millennium, which is 1,000 years. So I'm saying that's what's happened. I says, even though the shackles have been taken off, mentally we're shackled, and the system that we're still in is a byproduct of that enslavement of the people. So therefore, the book talks about you being given freedom, but the reality is, who gave you freedom? The people who gave you freedom are more free than you, if you get what I'm saying. So therefore, they've given you a level of freedom, but you do not have the same freedom or the rights to do what they can do. You know what I'm saying? So what they've done is kept us in a slave mindset. And then, and what's the biggest thing they did after? Let's break it down. They took away our culture. They took away our creator from us. They took away our language. They took away our names.
Nation.
We became,
everything.
as it says in the scriptures, a byword. And it's time to get back to who we are. So as much as this is about Battle of the Sexes, it's also about us looking back and finding out who we are and standing on that truth. Because that's where the ultimate power comes from. Because in this book, it talks about the phenomena that what would happen if these people wake up and get back to their culture and get back to their language. And I ain't going to sit here and make out like I've sat down and decided to learn Hebrew, because I know the odd word. I can say shalom. I can say toda rabah. Yeah, I can say, but after that, nah. But I've read some of the language and realizing what words mean and how much more power they have in that language, because it breaks it down, pictograms, and it has different meanings. So I started to realize there's a lot more to our culture and our language than what we're given with the English language.
Even touching on that, right? When you look at in scripture, right? And we say scripture, not just the Bible, because we say scripture because scripture is endless. There's so many books that we read and haven't read and been taken away. It tells us very specifically, numerous of times, Yasharel, other nation, Yasharel, other nation, Yasharel, heathen, Yasharel, pagan. So that's who we are. And once it resonates in your mind, you'll understand. He told us this is going to happen. This is prophecy. My nation will call me by my name. My people will come back to me and find me at Mount Zion.
In the land of captivity.
In the land of captivity.
Remember themselves, he says.
You know what I mean? So these are the things which we're seeing it. A nation of people will rise up and come serve me. I am Yahuwah. I do not change. So these are the things when you realize that we are waking up and we're understanding who we are. But enough of us have to understand that the fight is to the end. It says enduring to the end. You know what I mean? So it's just a continual battle that we've got to face.